اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.
What advice would you give to a student of knowledge? Wallahi, my advice to every single student of knowledge is going to be very, very simple. The first piece of advice that I would give is I would tell a person to divide the Islamic sciences into many subjects and give each subject its haqq. Don't be someone who only studied one subject. Like, for example, you studied Aqidah, which is very praiseworthy and amazing, but you don't know anything about fiqh or usul al-fiqh or Arabic or hadith or seerah or tafsir. And that's not so praiseworthy. So try to divide. If you want to be a student of knowledge, not just a regular person, then try to divide your Islamic sciences into subjects like tafsir, seerah, aqidah, hadith, fiqh, usul al-fiqh, Arabic language, and give each one its haqq. And what you should try to do is to memorize a basic text in each science, at least one, if not more than one. Like the poet, he said, فَمَا حَوَى الْغَايَةَ فِي أَلْفِ سَنَةٍ شخص فخذ من كل فن أحسنه بحفظ متن جامع للراجح تأخذه على مفيد الناصح. The poet, he said, you cannot in 1,000 years reach all of Islamic knowledge. So take from each knowledge the best of it. So from tafsir, you cannot read every book of tafsir. Take the best book of tafsir and study it really well. Take the best books of hadith and study it really well. Take the best books of aqidah and study it really well. By memorizing a text which brings all the important points in it. Not the text which is it's like long-winded, just all the important points in it. And take it from someone who is qualified and someone who is sincerely wants good for you. So take it from a scholar who is going to nurture you. Take it from a scholar who is qualified. And maybe you take, for example, 3-4 texts in each science. For example, in, let's say, hadith, you started with the 40 hadith of Imam al-Nawawi, for example. And then maybe, for example, after that, you took Riyadh al-Salihin. And after that, you took, for example, Bulugh al-Mara. And after that, you took the hadith that are agreed upon by Bukhari and Muslim, Mattafaqa alayhi shaykhan, for example. And that's, now you've got many, many hadith. You know about ahkam, you know about the virtue of good deeds, you know the hadith the religion's based upon, you know the main hadith of Bukhari and Muslim. MashaAllah, and very, very good. For example, in, let's say, aqidah, a person takes, let's say, for example, they take the books of Sheikh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, particularly Usul Thalatha, Qawaid al-Arba, Al-Kashf al-Shubahat, and Kitab al-Tawheed. And then they take, for example, Al-Aqidah al-Wasitiyya, and they take, for example, Al-Hamawiyya and Al-Tadmuriyya, and then they take Al-Tahawiyya, for example. Then that person has really got a very good understanding. Now, memorizing, you have to memorize all of them. Maybe they can memorize Kitab al-Tawheed, and they can memorize, for example, they can memorize Kitab al-Tawheed, and they can memorize maybe, let's say, Al-Tahawiyya, for example. That person, wallahi, he's got so much good. And that person has got all the masail of aqidah, whether it's uluhiyya, Allah's names and attributes, whether it is the issues of philosophy, whether it is all of it, that person has got it in their head. And what I would recommend you do is, when you reach the main book you're studying, like, for example, you're studying Bulugh al-Maram, for example. This is now, you're going to really, all your efforts you put into this book. Try to bring all the benefits from elsewhere onto one sharh, one explanation. Don't let your benefits be like, if you look at these books behind me, one is here, one is here, like one is here, one is here, one is here, all over the place. Try to bring all your benefits into one sharh, one explanation. So you look at the best explanation of that book and all the things you learned from your sheikh, from some other sheikhs, from your videos, from your studies, bring it all, consolidate it all into one book, so that someone says, okay, for example, let's just say Bulugh al-Maram, let's just say I chose Subul al-Salam. That's going to be my sharh that I'm going to put all the other. So everything I find from Tawdih al-Ahkam, everything I find from the other books of Bulugh al-Maram, everything I find in the books of the explanation of the other ahadith, what my teacher told me, I'm going to bring all of it onto Subul al-Salam. And then anytime I want to explain Bulugh al-Maram, I was going to open Subul al-Salam, and I've got all of the points that I studied from, for example, Sheikh Fawzan, all the points I took from him is on there. All the things that I got extra in Tawdih al-Ahkam that I didn't know about before, I put them on there. Some of the fiqh points I learned from my fiqh classes, I put on there. And it's all together for me in one book as much as possible. It's not always, but at least even it's just references and like look at Majmu' al-Fatawa, this volume. And like that's very helpful as well, inshallah ta'ala. And go with stages. Don't go in a way where you're taking a hard book first and then an easy book second. Because ultimately, you have to have a solid foundation to move on to another one. And also, wallahi, don't busy yourself with anything that takes you away from that knowledge. Because one of the things I think really takes people away from that knowledge, they get busy with things that don't benefit them. They get busy with other things. They get busy with qila wa qala, he said, she said. They get busy with things that they don't need to be involved in. And ultimately, I would advise, if there's a book or two books, I would advise you to learn. I'm going to give you 3 books. I'm going to give you 3 books, or I tell you this, I give you 4 that will teach you how to be an amazing student of knowledge. The first book is the book Ta'zeem al-Ilm by Sheikh Salih al-Usaymi, hafidhahullah ta'ala. This book is going to teach you how to be a proper student of knowledge. Very beautiful book. It's called Ta'zeem al-Ilm, venerating knowledge. I translated the whole book, but I don't know if it's available online, but I translated it, and there's other translations. Someone else did a translation of it as well. So it's called Revering Knowledge by Sheikh Salih al-Usaymi. The second book is Hilyatul Talib al-Ilm by Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd. I think in English it's called The Etiquettes of Seeking Knowledge by Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd, but that book needs a sharh. You can't do it by itself. You have to have an explanation for it because it's hard to understand. He uses hard words, and so you have to have an explanation of it. We have one on AMAU, Al-Madrasatul Umariyah, and you can find other people explain the book as well. The third book is for reference to read the book, the Jami' of Ibn Abdul Barr. This book, the book Jami' Bayan al-Ilm wa Fadlihi by Ibn Abdul Barr. And that's, again, it's only in Arabic, but it's very beneficial. And then the Jami' of Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi also. So if you can read those 2 as a reference, but if you, for basic study, to be a student of knowledge, 2 books. And that is Ta'zeem al-Ilm and Hilyat Talib al-Ilm. Ta'zeem al-Ilm by Sheikh Salih al-Usaymi and Hilyatul Talib al-Ilm by Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd, rahimahullah ta'ala. But the Hilya needs a sharh, definitely. When Ta'zeem al-Ilm is good if you have one, but Hilyat Talib al-Ilm, it's hard. It's a hard book. And you need to, the language of the Sheikh is hard, and sometimes the way he puts things is difficult. So you need an explanation of it. And if you can speak Arabic, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen has an excellent explanation of it. Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen has a very, and also Sheikh Sa'ad al-Shithri has a very good explanation of it. And Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badr also has an explanation of it as well, inshallah. So you can find it there. Those books will help a lot, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And Allah knows best.